Well, I'm I kind of just got started on this. I did a little tightening of one of them. It's been a while since I've been doing the dreads here. I've been working on it, but I started one and I wasn't going to stream, and then I said, well, I'll turn it on. Basically, I can't show you the tightening thing because I already did it, and it's similar to techniques that other dreadologists use, though. So it's basically you use a latch hook, and when dread is loose after it's grown out, what you do is you stick the hook through underneath and you pull it through, loop it several different directions depending on how loose it is, and then from there you reinforce it or crochet hook it or do whatever you can use to kind of tangle the hair in, or you can add or fortify hair in it like I'm doing. But since I'm creating dread extensions while I'm dreading my hair, because I want to make it long enough, I want to make it as long as I want it to be. So this makes it take a lot longer. I had some dreads that I could patch in, but I'm not going to do that because they're too heavy. So the old ones I have, while they look pretty good, they're just too heavy. So when you have 100 of them in your head, they're just a little too heavy. So I'm starting from scratch because I'm using frizzier hair, which naturally will make a lighter dreadlock, and I'm crafting them to be the exact length that I want them to be. And I think I'm streaming on all 5 platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, DLive, Mixer. And Facebook. So I just got to the bottom of this one. Now I'm just turning around and going back. And now if I decide later that I want these to be longer, I can just make them longer. It's just basically, you just have to weave this frizzy hair in together with itself. And it's pretty easy to do. It's rather time consuming to do it this way. I'm sure there's faster ways of doing it. Like I say, I think that people that make dread extensions, I think they use like a twist and rip kind of method where they try to get it to tangle together without having to discreetly weave it with itself like I'm doing. I just think you get a better result when you do this. So to me, it's worth the extra time. So, but I did tighten, I think it's this one, or no, it's this one. This one kind of, I don't think it grew out because they're basically the same age. All 4 of these are within a day of the same age. So, I think it probably just slipped a little bit over time, just from sleeping on it or whatever. Some of them are more firm than others, and it's just how well I got it in there. Now you can take your natural hair and you can turn it back on itself, and it'll help to prevent some of that. So you could do that conceivably, but I just got to the end of this shaft here, so I'm just gonna cut this off. And again, I kind of don't cut it. I kind of rip it using the scissors. I kind of just shred it so that it's not all the same length, like that, and then pull it into itself. So obviously this one I just got started on. It's not thick enough yet, and yeah, it's definitely tight enough though. And you can kind of feel in here to see if you've got any of them cross connected. If you can kind of fix that as you go, and so it's not too bad, you know. So yeah, that feels pretty good. Maybe I should put a clip in this to kind of hold it where it is. I think this is going to just be, I think I'm just going to do one today. So, because I have to be somewhere at 8 o'clock, so it's, right now it's 6 something, so, I'm probably not going to have time to finish more than one tonight, but one is better than none, as you might say. So, so let's pull this out, and okay, a lot of it going on the floor. Okay. That's too much, really. I can't do that much. But this is a little bit thin. I think I need just a little bit more. Okay, let's try that. That feels like a good amount. There we go. That's good. All right. So best just to let it go on the floor and pick it up after. You know, if too much goes down there. I don't know. This is a big mess when you do it, but you know, whatever. So thread it up another needle. Now I'm not going to go, I mean, I am going to start toward the bottom, but I'm not going to try to make it any tighter right now, too much. Maybe just a little. I'm going to start by going through where it's a little tight, and then I kind of go like that till it gets pretty thin, and then I can start weaving it through. And I'll go up a little, and then I'll go back down, and then you see I'm kind of twisting it this way and that so that it kind of gets evenly distributed on the hair as you go up and down. So let's see what we got here now. I'm probably gonna wanna keep going through because this is pretty thin here at the bottom, and so I'll probably go back and forth a few times and see how that goes. And I assume I'm broadcasting now. I don't really know. I haven't looked at on any browsers to see if it's actually working. But according to my streaming software, it is working. So how far up and down? So I have to go back down. I think I'm going to go up a little bit, and then I'm going to go back down, and then I'm going to go back again, and just go ahead and see what happens here. All right. All right. And I'll wrap it around. Sometimes it's good to wrap it around, and then you've got more to sew through. If you wrap it around a few times, you can kind of sew through it this way and that, and that'll help it bind up. Like that. And I'll just kind of see what that feels like. Yeah, so that looks like it's, you know, I got a pretty good start on it. Now I'll just kind of pull it on my way down, because it's not thick enough even at the ends. So I'm just gonna weave it on down, and then just keep going with it. And this is not real critical. It just has to be random, you know, and the more random it is, the better. But and also, in a way, you know, if you fill your needle up with less hair, it's actually better than more, because it makes it even more random then. And so I'm just kind of weaving it this way and that as I go down. And and if I get, you know, all the way to the end, I'll just turn around and go back up, and then I'll just keep filling it in until I get, you know, until it's basically as big as the other one. So obviously this one could use a little bit more. It could get a little fatter, especially at the base. And so I'm just going to kind of keep going down like this until I get to the end, and then I'm going to turn around and go back. I won't have that much to do, but we'll just periodically you have to let it go to make sure you're not over twisting everything, because that just makes it tighter. So you want it to be fairly loose, which means you don't want to necessarily keep going through the center. You want to just go like toward the outside and just nick some hairs, but not all of them. And then especially if you perceive that it's getting tighter. And so here I am. I'm at the end now, so I'm just I'll go through the end a little bit, and then I'll start going back up. So now I'm going back up, and like that. And you know, you can weave it a little bit more, like you could go through several areas on your way back up, and that kind of helps make it more random and more so it makes it more dreadlock like. When you get to where it gets too short to sew through, you just kind of want to you'll just kind of weave it through a whole bunch of times like this with the needle. You'll just go all the way through a number of times, and then go a little bit past the length of the hair on it, and then you cut it very raggedly like that, and then you can pull it in, and when you pull it in, it becomes so the end gets concealed, and then you're ready to load up another needle worth here. Let's see what I got over here. This is a lot, so I don't think I want quite this much, so I'm going to take some of it, and I'll take this much. Does this have some? This doesn't have much light hair in it, so I'm going to put some light, because I keep mixing, I'll mix the light and dark together, because I'm trying to get an auburn type color, and I'm using a hairpin to thread this upholstery needle, which is not made for dreads, but I just found it a useful tool to do it. Yeah, that looks good. Feels good. Feels right. So I'm going to Okay. All right. I'm going to start up at the top again, and I'm gonna go ahead and pull some through, and then I'm gonna start. I'll go up a little, and then I'll go down a little, and I'll just kind of keep going down. I'll go down because I want it to be a little bit thicker at the base. And I don't want to tighten it up too much at the scalp line because it's pretty tight now. So I think I just did put one at the bottom though. But I do want to if you do put one down the bottom and you don't mean to because it's pretty tight, just make sure and not pull it very tight. Pull it very loosely through, and then so that it's not like really tensioning your hair at the hairline. So I'm just so continuing on up, but I'm probably going to go back down again because I probably want to make this a little thicker, because if you kind of see the size of them, I think I could go up like to one, and then one more, and then I could start going back down. And then I think we'll be pretty close once we head on up again. I think we'll be pretty close to where it's going to be thick enough. And let's see here, like this. So yeah, it's starting to feel like it's filling in pretty good. Okay. And once again, you want to feel for any that are caught between them. You want to kind of make sure you're not trying to you're going to always pull them apart later when you're tightening them, or when you're you can cut them apart if you have to, but you shouldn't generally have to do that. So that looks like pretty thick now. I don't know, I might need to make that just a little thicker. I don't know. I don't want to make it too tight though. I want to do it very loosely, and like this, fairly loose. And all right, so now I'm gonna head back up, and I'm going to head back up now. Now I'm gonna go. Now when I start a new one, I won't necessarily have to start it at the bottom. Although I could. I think it looks pretty good. So even if I start it at the bottom, I'll start it from a very thin area, and then I'll just keep going up, and it won't really make a difference. It'll just, tangle in. So yeah, not a big deal. But I'm just going to kind of keep going. I don't know, I've gone back and forth on the bottom, so I'm probably not going to, might not get to the end on this one. Looks like I'll just, it'll be pretty close to just finishing right up at the end as I do this. So I'm just going to go ahead and now I'll have 5 instead of 4. So let's see what we got here now. Let's see. So do I have yeah, I can probably go through. like this all the way to the end, and then I'll kind of shred this down at the bottom. There we go. And then if I pull it tight, it should absorb all this. Well, not most of it, it did, but not all of it. And I can let it hang, or I can cut it off, or it doesn't really matter. Or I can, when I get to the end next time, I can just twist it up and bind it. So either way is fine, you know. I'm probably going to want some of these to be a little longer than this, but at the very least here I've got, this feels good. It feels like a good piece. A nickel size, you know, like a nickel round, basically a polygon that's a nickel sized. And oh, hello there on Mixer. Yeah, it's coming out okay. So I could make this longer. I think some of these other ones, let me see, just for comparison, most of these are longer than this, so yeah, maybe I need to go longer. Yeah, you know, this one is rather short, so yeah, maybe I will go just a little bit longer. I wish I had time to do more, but I think I only have time to do one today. It's been a while. I've been slacking on it. You know, I kind of feel like thank you. I kind of feel like God wants me to do this, and I don't know why, because I certainly don't. I had these when I was a bit younger, and I don't know why exactly, what's the reason, but I'm pretty certain of it. And so I'm just making the best of it. It's got something to do with the fact that God has a sense of humor, I guess. But I decided that since I was doing this, I would generally live stream it, and then maybe someone could get some benefit from it. It could be, you know, at least somebody could maybe learn something. I don't know if they could learn anything from me, because I don't really know anything. I mean, that's one problem, is I really don't. This is basically, I invented this technique, so I don't really know if other people do it like this, or if there's anyone that does this or whatever. But this will be Dreadlock number 5, and I'm just gonna try to, any of the extras that are sticking out, the extra hair sticking out, I'm gonna try to bind them as I go up. Ugh, this gets all in your eyes. Okay, there we go. I need to make sure and get everything here. Okay. Does that look good? I think I've got everything now. Okay, so I'm going to just I went up, and I started from the bottom, but it was very thin, you know, at the first part of the needle full here, and then now I'm just proceeding on up. And I'm trying to make sure and bind any of the hairs that were kind of sticking out from the beginning of the needle. I'm just binding them into as I go up. So hopefully that will, you know, I won't miss too many of those. And you can always use a latch hook to pull them in too later on. You know, that's something I've done, like in maintaining dreads. But once again, these, though, the reason I'm starting from scratch and not using my old dreads is because these these are considerably lighter because of the way I'm making them. These are considerably lighter than the last ones I had. So because of that, I don't want to use my old ones. Even though they look really great, they're awfully heavy. So I'm going with new ones because I'm using frizzier artificial hair and 1,000 sparks. So I have to figure out how I retrieve these sparks. I think I might have an account thing set up already, but I don't know. I'd have to check on Mixer and see what happens. I'm just going to keep going, and I guess I'm going to try making this a little bit longer. So when I get to the end here, I guess I'm just gonna I mean, I could always try making it longer later, but I could just you get to the end here, and what you do is, now do I have, let's see, what, oh, that camera's not aiming at anything. Okay, so this is my, thank you very much. So so when you get down to the end like this, you can sort of just keep tangling through on the thread that you're using. I'm calling it a thread, but it's like, however many hairs is on the needle. And I just keep tangling it in and kind of like going on down. So I'm making this longer now. And this helps it hold together when I start extending it. And you can, my hair is about that long right now or something like that, so you can just kind of keep going, and you can just make your own hair as long as you want just by adding hair to it like this. So this is what I'm doing. I'm not sure, so you just kind of keep going down and you tangle it on your way down. You kind of feel these little tangles. And once you get to the bottom, now when it comes to this one, I don't know. Do I want to make, let's see. So let's see. Let me pull one of these down here. So yeah, like this is kind of a good length, so I can kind of turn around on this. I'll just turn around and go back up. And that's what I'll do. Yeah, it's a fun hairstyle. I cut it off. I've had it twice before, and I've cut it off one time, but the last time I really didn't think I'd do it again, but I don't know. I feel divinely inspired to do it again, and I don't know exactly why. I really don't want to, but I feel like somebody up there wants me to do it. So let's just say, it's one of those things where, I mean, if you don't believe in that, that's fine. I don't know what is going on, but it's just you feel like somebody up there wants you to do something, and you're very sure of it. And so you don't know why. I certainly don't know why, but I'm just gonna do it. If I just weave this through like this, I think I can just cut this off. This is not a, I wish I'd had a little bit more on this one when I did this, because all right. So okay. Now here's my hairpin. I keep not putting my tools back in the right place. So now I need another one here. So I'm going to start with, I don't know, I should probably start with more than this, but I'm just going to take a little of the lighter hair, and I'm mixing these two colors together. So, And the reason, I mean, that actually approximates, it's a fairly close color to my original hair color, you know, to where when I was younger. And, you know, it's got a lot more gray in it now, of course, but, so yeah, this is, I'm going to do one more needle worth here and see how it goes. Now, in this case, I don't want to start from the bottom, so I'm going to start about here, and I'm just going to start going up like pretty quick. Like I'm not going to go back down toward the hairline anymore because it's thick enough down there now. So I'm just gonna kind of continue on here like this, and you can kind of see this little mess down here. This is gonna get straightened out as soon as I get down there. And I'm not gonna bother. I know it's thinner at the bottom, you know, like these needles full are thicker toward the needle side because the hair is, you know, unevenly put on there. But I think that's fine. I'm just gonna, you can always fill in if you need to fill in somewhere, but basically I'm just gonna go ahead and go down like this, and you just kind of spin the dread, and periodically you got to let go of everything and let go of your needle so that it all untwists, because you start putting a twist in everything and it makes it too tight. So you don't want that, because you don't want the end result to be that tight. You want it to be a fairly loose little tangle of whatever. So you can always bind it up a little bit later. You can even use like sewing thread on it if you need to, but so I'm basically just going to take this down, and if I just keep going down like this, it'll be fine. I'm almost getting to the end now. Okay. And once again, I'm not going through the center because it's too tight now to do that anyway. So now what I'm doing is I'm just kind of taking some hair on the side and weaving it through it a little bit, and so that the whole thing doesn't get packed too tight. So the idea is if you have a really loose dread, then you don't have it, then the whole thing isn't really all that heavy when you're done. And then when you have, you know, say about 100 of them on your head, it's not too heavy. So you don't want to make it too compact and tight, because that just makes it heavier. Now, the idea of using frizzier hair like I'm using this time instead of straighter extension hair, if you use the straighter stuff, then even if you are careful, or even when you get like a feeling like you've got it too tight, then it's going to be much more tightly packed and much heavier than it would be if you start with a frizzier hair, which naturally will create more air spaces. So yeah, so I've now I'm on the little part that I started added on, and I'm just going to kind of continue it on down here, and I'm just going to go down until I get to the bottom, then I turn around and go back up, and then from there I'll have to catch that up a little bit, obviously, but it will get thicker a little faster because it is on the end, and because it's on the end, I'm often going to get to the bottom and then change direction and turn around and go back up. So so the end tends to get thicker. So what you end up doing is the ends, the top and the bottom start to kind of get a little thicker, and then you end up having to fill it in the center area to get it to match or to taper naturally or whatever. And I'm just going to do that. I'm going right through the bottom now a couple of times. And then I'm turning around and going back up. There, now I'm on my way back up again. Now at this point, you can just go, you can stick it through the center because it's not tight yet and it will help it bind together better. But once it gets to a certain point where it's really tight, then you don't want to go through the center as much because you don't want to keep packing it in there really tight. So, what I could do here is when I get to the area up here where it starts to thicken out, I could just turn around and go back again because that would make some kind of sense, I think. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go turn around and go back down because I'm kind of making a little extension on there. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn around and go back down. And we'll see how it goes. This is riveting stuff, you guys. I can't believe anyone would watch this, but I just decided to live stream it because I am a streamer rather than a video maker. I'm better at streaming, and I know that it would probably be better for everyone if I edited this into a short video that explained things, but you know, I just like hanging out with you all. So when I'm able to do that, it always makes me happy. And when people come on and talk, that's always nice. And I would rather do that. So there we go. Okay, so I've now gone to the bottom again. Now I'm going to start going back up. And yeah, I think that's a pretty good plan. So I'm going back up now. And so that's filling out this bottom little extended part that I just made. I added onto it because I thought it wasn't quite long enough. So I thought I would just make it a little longer. And that's the beauty of doing it like this, is you can make them as long as you want. And you can make them down to the floor if you want. So I'm just gonna... But I mean, you can kind of see how frizzy my hair is. It dreads pretty naturally. And this is just kind of a way of helping it along to kind of make it the way I want it. And I think what I'm going to do now that I'm back up at the beginning of the extended part is I think I'm just going to weave it through and weave it on down because I figure I might as well just do that. And then I can just stop it right there. And there it is. And so now, you know, it's not quite as thick as the rest of it, but it's getting pretty close. So, yeah, this looks pretty good here. I can zoom in, right? I have like a zoom. So I could go kind of start around here-ish and then kind of go down again. And I think that'd be a pretty, like, how thin do I have it? I have a little thicker on the bottom of these. So I do want to get to the bottom of these one more time at least. Let's see, how many of these can I get like this? Will this be a good amount? This would probably be a pretty good amount. I'm gonna go ahead and then I gotta get some of this lighter colored one here. And there we go. And I'm just gonna thread the needle again like this. This thing really is the best thing to use as a needle threader because it's open. Makes it easier to get it into the thing. If you had to put it through something, that would be harder. So an open hairpin is actually a pretty good way of doing that. So I'm going to start, say, right around here. And I'll just go through and then I'll pull it mostly through till it gets kind of thin down there like that. And then from there I'll just head on up and see how far I get this time. And okay. All right. Well, there's a little bit of a tangle there, but tangles are good, you know. Basically, that's just a good thing. You know, just as long as you can keep binding it up. If you got a little bit of a mess that kind of tangles up, you can just kind of twist it around a little and then sew over it. And the more you do that, the better it is. The better, you know, it looks more natural the more you do that. And so that feels pretty good. Yeah, sure. Okay. One of the problems with this kind of hair is it just goes everywhere. Okay, let's see here. Have I gotten it? Is it going through correctly now? I think it is. Yeah, okay. All right, here we go. All right. So here I am going down the way again, so I'm just gonna go ahead and I feel it starting to come together now. Okay. Okay. There it goes. So I'm trying not to make it too tight. I'm just trying to put it in. And any of this tangly free hair that's out here, I'm trying to bind that up on the way down. And, you know, it kind of happens naturally anyway, but if you can help it along by doing this, then that's always good. And so I'm just going to go take this all the way down to the bottom. And yeah, there we go. Okay. Yeah, it feels like it's working. So yeah, now we're going all the way down. Okay, I'm getting it through there. I'm trying not to make it, I'm trying to make it not twist up too much. So that I have kind of control of it on the way down. And there we go. All right, so we're going to take this all the way to the bottom, I think, and then probably turn around and come back, but we'll see. Let's see what it looks like when we get down closer to that extended part. And we'll just kind of continue on down that way. And once again, I'm using jumbo braid. It's a frizzy Kanekalon artificial hair. I'm not, you can't, like, if you use human hair, it's very expensive to do this. So you probably don't want to do that. Although, like I said, if you decide to switch over to human, that might be a thing you could do. You know, like after you start just tightening it up, you could use human. But to do this whole project with human hair would probably cost $1,000 of materials, or more. I'm not sure exactly how much, but quite a lot. And so I'm going with, I mean, these jumbo braid big shafts like this, each one costs about $1.50, so they're very inexpensive, and you can get them online to a lot of places. I get mine from ebonyline.com, and they're a good company. They do what they say they're going to do. They get things shipped fast. Their shipping rates are reasonable. I think they even have like a free shipping if you make an order of a certain size, but I didn't have the ability to make an order of that size yet because I wasn't sure that I had the right colors yet. So because of that, I hesitated on making an order of that size, but now the next time I order it, I probably will. So now here I am at the bottom, and so I'm at the bottom, and I'm gonna just basically, I'm going to try, any sticky outy hair, I'm just going to try to bind it on the way up, but I'm going to turn around and go back and just basically do the same thing I was doing on the way down. So, and that should just naturally bind things on the way up. If anything's sticking out too much, then it should probably get bound, or it'll get bound more anyway on the way up. And on these ones here on the bottom, I'm more going through the center still because they're pretty loose still. And let me see here. So how much thicker is this than this? It's significantly thicker here. So I think I want to turn around and go back down. So that's what I'll do. I'll turn around and go back down, and I'll just go around until I get down to the bottom, and then from there, and then I'll turn around and come back up, and then I should be pretty close to done on this one. This one feels probably like it's about done then. Looks like it's pretty thick at the top, and like I said, you can always thicken them out later. And if you feel like they look too thin, or they are too thin, or whatever, you can definitely augment them. You can pretty much do whatever you want, make them thick as you want. And I'm just gonna, okay, so now I've got a little bit left at the bottom. I'm just gonna turn around and go back up, and that's what I'm gonna do. And so I'll do that. Okay. All right. Okay. And I'm going to go back up like that till I get to where it's too short to go through anymore. And I'll just weave it in like this. Maybe I'll even just turn around and go down, because that probably makes more sense since it's still a bit thin there, but I think it's about right. So I'll just weave it through, and I'll pull it through, and then when I cut it off, it'll help fill in that area that's a little bit thin. And there we go. You can always do a little rolling to make it, help it get evened out. That does help create a little more randomness, but it's, it'll happen naturally anyway. So there it is. That's dreadlock number 5. And I don't have time really to do a 6th one tonight, but there we go. So you got 2 in the front like this, and then two that are kind of like this. So when you part, you kind of like pull from either side, and then this one is probably, you know, I don't know, you probably leave that one over here. You kind of cross them over, though, you know, like as you part to create a more pleasing part instead of a wholly empty space like that. But there are kind of tricks with filling it in, too. So, you know, when you go out and dress up and try to do something fancy with it, you know, I find that funny to talk about. But in any case, that's number 5. That's all we're going to have today. So I bid you all goodbye.